That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
Oh dear. I'm not even going to attempt an Irish accent, Dragon. I'm going to spare our audience.
All right, we'll keep it easy.
Folks, if you grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s era of Disney Channel, if you came of age in that era, I was about 10, 11 years old when this movie came out. This movie has got to be a St. Patrick's Day tradition, as this poster so adequately points out, Dragon. Like, seriously, man, this was a nostalgic favorite, and it's taken us long enough to talk about this thing. Of course, we had a little bit of a snafu the last time we tried to do this. We ran into some recording technicalities last year, and we did it literally at the last minute. So, Dragon, we're giving ourselves a little bit of a buffer, just in case we don't have the luck of the Irish tonight, just in case anything goes wrong. We're giving us a second chance, but hopefully the luck will be on our side and we'll be able to talk about this movie, because I gotta say, Dragon, this movie is far from perfect, but it might be the most 2001 thing to ever have 2001. I mean, this movie is like the early 2000s in a nutshell, man. Like, watching it feels like going back in time.
I suppose.
It's kind of it's kind of crazy. It makes me feel old that this time period, this era is now like the new 90s for me, where it's like I have just kind of such warm and fuzzy nostalgia for like those glory days of being like a tween / early teenager growing up, coming of age, like the Incredible Monsters Inc. I don't know, I'm Lilo and Stitch, going to Disneyland for the first time. I'm getting all nostalgic, man, but that's what this movie does for me. This movie really does kind of bring about those nostalgic feels, and it is just kind of a time capsule. It's not perfect by any stretch, but it's got a fun villain. It's got a nice premise. It's got really fun characters for the most part. I feel like the two friend characters, we'll get into them. They're not that great, but the parents are good. So I digress, Dragon. I'm kind of skipping ahead into some stuff. What do you think about the luck of the Irish overall? What's your thesis on this thing?
Well, I just think, look at the Irish. It is, it is a St. Patrick's Day standard. Not that there are many to choose from, but it is. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of. It's a nostalgic piece for sure. It's one of those Disney Channel originals that it's more of like kind of definitely a holiday piece. Like, for me, like probably my favorite Disney Channel original. There might be some I'm not thinking of at the moment here, but I mean, "Twas the Night's" always my go-to with the Disney Channel original holiday movies. But then this one, every St. Patrick's Day, because again, you're going to see a whole bunch of Christmas specials. There's only one St. Patrick's Day special, so it makes an impact. You remember parts of it, and of course there are fun things looking back at it. Years later, of course, you and I being the Munson fanatics that we are, I kind of have that blast from the past when I rewatched it. I guess last year, I realized like, oh my God, Munson's in this movie. What a small world! Oh my goodness!
And he looks so young compared to when he played Richard Dragon. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and of course. Well, this is kind of, I guess, like right before he did Psych as well. So it's kind of like it's kind of the early Munson years. So yeah, I mean, I think the movie on itself, looking back at it, of course, nostalgically, kind of have hey, it's cool. We have a St. Patrick's Day movie, because for me, the only St. Patrick's Day movie I really think of is no, it's not the Leprechaun series, but it's oddly enough, it's just a scene, a one scene from The Fugitive. It's in The Fugitive where he only blends into the St. Patrick's Day parade. That's really my main memory of St. Patrick's Day on film. Because unfortunately, let's face it, at least to my knowledge, there isn't really a lot to choose from on that front.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People, man, I'm telling you.
Well, anyway, point being, that said, I think this movie. Looking back on it years later, I think my thesis, I guess, would be that it's a testament to how hard it is to sell St. Patrick's Day in film. I think it's close, but again, I still don't think we've quite cracked the code on that sort of thing. Very little very little St. Patrick's Day movies that we've seen. But bear in mind, the odd thing is
there's not even a lot of St. Patrick's Day like episodes that I can think of.
And of course, the ironic thing is that I don't think technically this is even set around St. Patrick's Day. I mean, again, if it is, we don't they don't really they don't explicitly say it because there's a festival. There's the Irish festival that's going on here, but that's not. Basically, it's implied like why would they hold it? Would they hold this just randomly? But most likely it's tied to St. Patrick's Day, but they're not spelling it out, so it's unclear. But regardless, yeah, it fits into the Disney Channel original movie tradition for sure in terms of that nostalgic early 2000s kind of venue. And now, before we go any further, I want to call out some stuff from the comments here because we have Pink Pearl Apple, or that is the new moniker, Pink Pearl Disney Wishes. So whichever you like, we'll call you Pink Pearl Apple because I mean, darn it, it's like with Grey Delisles with their name change. Yes, she goes by Grey Griffin, but in her heart, she'll always be Grey Delisles. We got to go by the classics. The ones we're familiar with. Anyway, the Pink Pearl Apple, so forgive me if that's not the way I want to be addressed, otherwise noted, and we'll do it going forward. Anyway, Pink Pearl Apple says, I miss this. I miss this movie. Late '90s kid becomes a leprechaun. It's a good movie, and it does show. Be proud of your heritage. Pink Pearl Apple is Brazilian, as stated here. Mm-hmm. I grew up knowing this as the St. Patrick's Day movie, and again, like I'm inclined to agree with you. Again, it's like the St. Patrick's Day movie, but still, like, I'll still take that one scene over The Fugitive in terms of what's better, but in terms of like the go-to movie, again, this.
Next year we just need to examine the that one scene in The Fugitive in shot by shot, like microscopic detail.
Hey, I'm there for it. Not like we couldn't do that.
Fugitive. That should be on my watch list, probably, right?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways.
Okay. So all that said, I guess getting to the really minute bit of background we do have for this, then. All right, so not a lot of background here, folks, but here's what we do know. So it was directed by, because unfortunately all these Disney Channel original movies, there's very little known about them. They're kind of these entities that like you have to be there, have to interview someone directly involved in the process to really know the ins and outs of what went on. Unless it's like a franchise or something, but rarely is that.
Well, I was about to say, I feel like the big franchises like the High School Musicals and the Disney Descendants of the world kind of get a lot of glory, but
even then, like, who really
movies like this, and like kind of this era of Disney Channel original movie in general, you're right, they did kind of like just come and go in the wind. Really, I think only two really stood out, and they were both franchises in their own right in this era, and those were Xenon and Halloween Town. Those were the two that really kind of broke into the pop culture zeitgeist.
We love me some Halloween Town.
This one was kind of like on the fringes of being a big hit.
It was. So this one had a good director on it. So this one had a very nostalgic kind of a director of our era, so to speak, Tiki. We had Paul Hohen, if I'm saying his name correctly. Paul Hohen directed this. And he's directed a lot of kind of nostalgic shows and films, apparently. And, of course, mainly a lot of television work. The television work, he did one of my nostalgic favorites, 100 Deeds of Eddie McDowell, which I think there's this definitely feels like it's cut from the same cloth of 100 Deeds of Eddie McDowell.
Did that show ever have a Christmas special?
It's the thing to get. I don't think so, but obviously I would have brought that up if there were. I mean, I got to comb through it again, but I'm pretty sure there wasn't.
I feel like that show would be right. That might honestly be. I'm nostalgic for Eddie McDowell as well, my friend.
But here's the problem. Again, the reason I don't think it was a Christmas special is that one got preempted because they never did the 100 Deeds. Remember that was the big crime of that show.
No, I know. I'm just saying that show would work with a Christmas special format.
It would. So let's see. So
Christmas Carol.
So in addition to that, we have, well, not Christmas Carol. We don't want to just rip off All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Well, all shows do it, Dragon. Ripping off Christmas Carol, All Dogs is not. It's not the first, nor will it be the last to rip off.
I don't mean it's not the first to do that. I'm saying literally Dog and All Dogs Go to Heaven. I don't know. It sounds a little similar. I don't know. Anyway, so there's Eddie McDowell. There's Even Stevens. That's another good show.
This show feels very. This movie feels very Even Stevens to me, Dragon. That's kind of the closest comparison I can draw to it.
Also, I believe he's done some episodes of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which, hey, everyone's nostalgic for Sabrina.
Oh yeah.
Not the new one, from what I hear, but people are. I think that has its fans in itself too.
I've heard mixed things about the new one.
Yeah, I saw a comparison on Netflix. They compared because the CW has a deal with Netflix, so they're kind of promoting the CW stuff as well, which includes
Mhm.
Riverdale. And of course, Sabrina originally spun off from the Archie comics, therefore there's correlations.
Sure, sure.
Point being, they had like a little boyfriend off where they had Jughead
Are
and
they
they
ever
had
going to
Harvey
make a
Kimball.
Josie and the Pussycat spinoff?
Well, they're in the show. They're in Riverdale, so I wouldn't.
I
I
know
would.
they're in Riverdale, but I'm just like the CW is kind of known for doing spinoffs, so I'm just wondering if that's like in development at all.
I wouldn't put it past them. I just think they need like. I think it depends on like Sabrina's success and everything. Then they're going to get into the other
Mhm.
spinoffs. And of course, right now they're kind of going through some stuff with the loss of a cast member recently. So
Right, right, sure.
anyway, so yeah, what was it? Oh yeah, so the point is I had like a boyfriend off between Harvey Kinkle and Jughead, and basically Jughead was a deadlock because Jughead's awesome in that show, and Harvey Kinkle I don't watch that show, so it's not really fair, but it's basically like the footage they use, like, Harvey, I don't know. To me, it doesn't beat the original Harvey, but that's just me.
I mean, Harvey Kinkle as a character has always kind of been a block of wood, but the original Harvey was, I don't know, just more charming of a block of wood.
What I'm saying, he was a
But
lunkhead,
it
but
was
he
like
was
a nice, like finely sanded block of wood. You know what I mean? It was like, that's a nice piece of wood.
he was yeah, it was he was dim, but he was lovable. Anyway, so some other stuff from Pink Pearl Apple here. Let's see. I've never seen The Fugitive. You should amend that. Well, you can if you want, especially around St. Patrick's Day. So there's still time. All right, so
How
back in
long
the
does the scene go on? Like how big is it in terms of like
well, I mean, it's kind of a set piece, and it has like a big role of like how he escapes. So it's kind of like it has a big part in the movie. He's really they almost get him, and he escapes. It's kind of a big part of the scene. So it does have a
okay.
it's a good little scene. It's a clever scene because the whole movie's about Richard Kimball being clever and outfoxing his pursuers. So anyway, so Pink Pearl Apple says back in the '90s, the early emphasis on early, the early day of the internet hadn't taken off yet. Then only played on basically the movie. The internet hadn't really taken off yet, and then it only played on the Disney Channel, and nobody really paid
Mhm.
attention to the credits. So again, talking about the director and such. Again, really hard to
Mhm.
know pre IMDb and
Well, not
seeing
only
what.
that, but I'm pretty sure even in that era they were doing that thing where, once the credits came on, they'd like squash them into like a quarter of the screen and do an ad.
I can't tell you. Sometimes I've had to do that when we take notes on Gotham. I have to like the freeze frame even because they squish it down. But it's now horizontal instead of vertical.
uh,
Anyway, let's see. Also, I pointed out DuckTales ripped off A Christmas Carol, which, yeah, sure, but to be fair, I mean, with whole Scrooge McDuck of it all, Scrooge kind of has like a kind of a pass on that one. But again, that's not the point. Again, I was making the all dogs go to heaven comparison, but fair point. But it was done amazingly, as she also pointed out there. Harvey was the block of wood compared to Steve from Full House. Oh wow, them are fighting words.
I never really watched much Full House, so I can't really comment on that. That's
Steve was a.
that's
I
one of
gotta
the
tell you,
gaps in my
the
'90s
nineties,
pop
the
culture
nineties had
repertoire.
the '90s had pleasant boyfriend characters. I gotta give it that. That's like Steve was a nice young man. Steve was a nice guy, and I
What
don't know.
about Ferguson from Clarissa Explains It All?
That one I can't really remember, but
I just remember the name more than anything else.
he's the guy who kept climbing through the window, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was his big shtick. So, I mean, that's really that to me. Like that's the only thing I really remember about the guy. Steve, though, Steve. I remember he worked at Disney for a while, which is really cool. But he was the nice boyfriend. Then DJ got popular, and we're trailing off. All right, and yeah, Pink Pearl Apple echoes that barely remembers Clarissa at all either. So okay, let's
The
get
one
back
thing I
on.
remember about Clarissa vividly is the fact that it would be on right before Rugrats, and it was like the thing that I didn't want to watch, but I kind of had to watch because I didn't really know how TV works. So I was like, all right, I got to watch this Clarissa Explains It All show, and then I can watch Rugrats. And Rugrats was like my jam back then, Dragon. Back in like that was like my first like. I think the Rugrats might have been my first TV show that I got like really into.
Clarissa, do you mind? I'm trying to. I'm swept up in the struggles of Chucky Finster right now. Do you mind?
So I just, but then again, I do have some nostalgia for Clarissa Explains It All, mostly the theme song, and yes, Ferguson coming up into the bedroom through the ladder, which is kind of creepy in retrospect.
It was a different time. It was a shtick. He had a shtick. That's all it was. You know? It's like, hey, that wacky friend, you know, he's climbing through the window. Anyway, so the other thing I have to point out is that, of course, as a fan favorite, apparently, like many polls have been taken, this is like one of the most highly rated of the Disney Channel original movies somewhere along the line. So people really like this movie.
I definitely think it's one of the more popular, along with it's up there with like in the echelon of Halloween Town, I think.
Yeah, Halloween Town is really hard to beat. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as you'd imagine, this airs every St. Patrick's Day as well as basically it's available on demand around every St. Patrick's Day. So yeah.
Cool. All right. So give us a plot summary, Dragon.
Okay, plot goes a little something like in case anyone's a little fuzzy on what happens in this movie. Because ideally, you could listen to us kind of talk about this movie even with you having nostalgic kind of blinders on. You can say, "Oh yeah, I remember that. That sounds like that." Just in case you're a little fuzzy on the specifics, here you go. Here's the plot. You got a lucky kid named Kyle Johnson, and he's the star basketball player. Kid never had an unlucky day in his life. So then Heritage Day rolls around the school, which leads Kyle to question his parents. Leads Kyle to question his parents about what his heritage is, and there's just suffice it to say they're very dodgy on the issue. Kyle and his friend Russell, they hit this Irish carnival, essentially, this Irish festival. I believe they have, I forget if they call it Luck of the Irish in itself, but essentially, hence the name of the movie. But the point being, it's an Irish carnival of some variety. The reason they go to this festival is because there's a poster with Kyle's lucky coin on it, the symbol that is embroidered on Kyle's lucky gold coin. Therefore, his correlation. Therefore, hey, I might be Irish. He's kind of putting two and two together and doing some investigative work, live and in person. So while he's at the festival, he comes across Emerald Isle's potato chip owner Riley O'Reilly, as well as showman extraordinaire, master of the step, Seamus McTiernan. Comes across Seamus McTiernan.
Master of the step, king of the step.
Well, yes, king of the step. I was trying to a smidge, but okay, fine. King of the step. So then Kyle, following this encounter of these two individuals, Kyle has basically the best way I could describe it, has a terrible, horrible, no good, bad week. He gets not to mention all sorts of bad generic high school stuff happens to him, and he gets shorter, he gets red hair, he gets pointy ears, leading him to discover
3 inches tall.
Yes, leading him to discover two things: one, that he's lost his lucky coin, and more accurately, he learns his heritage, that he is in fact half leprechaun. From the clan O'Reilly. He descends from the clan O'Reilly. And of course, you're probably, you the discerning audience member, is probably putting together by my summary here, O'Reilly, and there was another O'Reilly. You'd be correct, sir, or madam. Kyle visits his grandfather, who he discovers is his grandfather, Riley O'Reilly, and basically meets Riley O'Reilly.
O'Reilly.
Yes, of the O'Reillys. So they join forces to retrieve the coin from the actual thief, from con man Seamus McTiernan. So they go to retrieve the coin from him. Eventually, shenanigans unfurl, very kind of late 90s, early 2000s as shenanigans unfurl, leading to Kyle and Seamus striking a wager for the coin. And all, just to suffice it to say, we get some sporting events, some old school Irish sporting events. All boils down to the big basketball game. The big basketball game, folks. Good guys win. It ends on this land is my land. That's pretty much that's literally the ball game, folks. That's all she wrote. That's the movie.
Okay, I don't want to make light of this, Dragon, but I am genuinely shocked that with that ending, that uber patriotic ending, I am genuinely kind of shocked that this movie was not made post 9/11. I really am, because that just kind of like I lived through the post 9/11 culture as it happened. I was like 10 years old when that happened. And I just vividly remember every movie and every show would be like, yeah, America, let's sing an America song. And I don't know, it's just kind of weird that it happens so close to 9/11, but not after 9/11. It's almost kind of creepy in that way. I'm not trying to make light of it. I almost think it's kind of like dark, sort of like prophetic subtext, anyways.
Right.
On a lighter note, let's get to Kyle.
Yeah. So,
hey, Michael, we need another one out of the LaBeouf factory. We need another LaBeouf. All right, but this one's not going to be as charming. That's okay. That's okay, just as long as he's kind of like LaBeouf.
oh, right, sorry.
Gotcha. I'm just saying, this guy is kind of a clone of Shia LaBeouf.
I didn't get that at all. I gotta be honest.
Really?
I think you're just hinging on the Even Stevens thing that I told you. That's what I really think you're doing right now.
I'm hinging on the Even Stevens thing, but also, okay, you got to admit the hat in the first half of the movie.
It is a very convenient hat when you really think about it. Like, he just randomly has this hat that he can wear to kind of cover his newly kind of malformed kind of side effects here. It's like, anyway. So Kyle Johnson is played by Ryan Merriman. Now, Tiki, I wonder if you recognize this kid, because I know where this kid's from. And he's from another Disney Channel original movie. I'm going to see if you can guess the Disney Channel original movie. And it's a big one. It's a really big nostalgic one too. Like, a lot of people, there's a lot of this is fan favorite people as well. Did this when he was younger, and of course they got him in this. Basically, imagine this kid but younger. Think about it now.
It's not Halloween Town, is it?
Oh, it's not Halloween Town.
I don't know, Dragon. I don't have the best knowledge of Disney Channel original movies. What is it?
Smart House.
Oh, Smart House, of course. Yeah, that was a very good one.
Yeah, I like Smart House. Yeah, he's the kid in Smart House, so that's where they pulled him from. It's a little, kind of like a stable of actors they're building there that they really aren't going to do anything with after they've used them at least twice. 4 times if it's a franchise. Anyway. So, let's see. So, how do we feel about Tiki? How do we feel about Kyle?
I mean, I feel like he's just kind of like an average early 2000s main character kid, honestly. I mean, I don't know. I do like that throughout the movie he gets more and more in touch with his culture. I think the actor does do a genuinely pretty good Irish accent. I'll give him that much.
Yeah.
In terms of characterization, Dragon, I'm going to tell you right up front, it's going to be very hard to be like, all right, let's break down the thematic subtext of Russell. Let's just dive deep into the layers of the token black friend.
And yet we will. So.
I know we will. I'm just saying I'm not going to have a lot to add to that conversation.
All right, so I guess I'm breaking down Kyle a little bit here. So Kyle, relatable kid trying to figure out his heritage. I think that's kind of the lightning rod for the character in itself. That might be the relatable thing to the kids watching out there. Like, if you don't know your heritages, or if you're not uber in touch with it, you just kind of know it, but you don't really understand it. You're kind of in Kyle's shoes. Therefore, you have somewhat of an in there, the movie, and kind of a connect to Kyle. That's we have to start with that, I guess. I think essentially Kyle goes on a literalized and kind of physicalized acceptance of his roots by kind of the whole absurdity of being a leprechaun. So again, we kind of examine. I want to give them credit here. I think what they're trying to, they're kind of touching the hem of here is that, again, we're telling the story of a kid kind of learning about his heritage, but we're going to do it in kind of a cinematically exciting way, and kind of a St. Patrick's Day kind of inspired method of like, okay, so the kid finds out he's a leprechaun, which is kind of the fill-in for finding out you're Irish, and kind of really you need an excuse to really kind of even if you weren't interested, like what would make you interested in learning about your roots? Well, okay, you're a leprechaun. There's kind of a ticking clock of things, and of course, there's going to be a big consequence. Again, we're kind of doing it through absurdity, which again is kind of an interesting kind of story device, I got to admit.
Yeah, it's a good hook for the story, and like you could imagine, they could do like a serious movie about a kid discovering his Irish heritage and like traveling to Ireland and getting in touch with his roots. But instead, they did a silly early 2000s movie that happens to involve some Irish culture. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure. And what I love with Kyle's arc, I guess, I really like that he earns his luck back. It's not just gifted back to him. He doesn't just kind of walk away learning nothing. He's like, okay, I need my luck back. Got my luck back. No worries for the future ever again. Wee! It's not like that at all. It's that Kyle he earns his luck back through the movie by learning that he can make his own. Which basically, I think thematically, what they're connecting with that lesson, I like this, is that they're connecting because they're really throwing this in your face hard in the movie. I like to think there's a point to it. And I like to think the point to it is that it correlates with Kyle's arc, where we're connecting the idea that the Irish, they basically the old Irish immigrant story. The Irish they went to America, and of course they worked very hard. There's a lot of skepticism, a lot of there was some bias. There was a lot of a lot of dispersions. Like a lot of basically the Irish got the crap jobs. That's essentially what the old the Irish immigration story is in America. And they kind of worked their way up to the respectable, the respect they got. And of course, like police forces full of Irish cops, like all sorts of. There's a rich history of the Irish. So, and of course, that's you don't have the benefit of luck because you lived an unlucky existence and you made your own luck being the point. And I think that's what we're getting the correlation to what Kyle learns through his own unconventional experience. So it's kind of that versus the perceived kind of luck of the legend. So again, he's kind of dealing with the leprechaun. Like, you're a symbol of luck, as well as, okay, so it's being a leprechaun, which is luck comes easily to you, versus you learning that you're Irish and kind of like earning your own luck. So it's kind of a melding of those two stories. And I think that's kind of neat.
Well, Dragon, I've never heard it looked at like that, but that's a very good kind of analysis of the title and how it relates to the thematic kind of overflow of the movie. Good job there. I'm impressed.
And he's also, again, in the whole transformation to leprechauns, like he's becoming a symbol of kind of the fear of heritage and kind of redeems it. Again, he's kind of redeeming, like, imagine this. I'm not saying they're doing all they could be with this element of the movie, but imagine this. Okay, you find out, you're turning into the ultimate stereotype of your culture. You're turning into a leprechaun. You're turning into Lucky Charms, essentially. So you're turning into what you could perceive, like even
okay, so I'm Italian, so I'd basically be turning into Viggo Mortensen from Green Book.
Well, come on, maybe just let's say Mario, just for a point, just for a better comparison.
No, I'd rather be Mario. Let's say Chef Boyardee.
Okay, one of the two.
Because Chef Boyardee is much more offensive than Mario.
Sure. So let's say again, you become
an Italian icon, man.
Sure. Okay. So you become that symbol, and again, we're kind of looking at that. Sorry, basically, you become that, and it's kind of a fear of becoming that symbol, but you kind of redeem it and you kind of learn the value in it over time. So again, initially it's horrifying, and they're kind of physicalizing that response to learning you're something you didn't really imagine you were, and think about all like kind of the negativity of a stereotype you could be.
So basically the arc of Green Book.
Darn it. Yeah. It's kind of, look, it's not exactly, yeah, sure, it's a little bit of Green Book, all right? It's a little bit of Green Book, but again, it's more racially.
Breaking the balls.
All right, fine, but you catch what I'm saying, though, right? You get
what yeah.
Okay, so basically physicalizing the fear of ostracization.
And of course, I feel like that goes in line with our villain character, who kind of is a great mirror image of that.
Exactly.
Stereotyping.
That's what I'm going for there. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so just want to kind of lay the seed out for that one. So we'll check in with him at the end of things here. But,
the Russell seed, if you will.
Okay, we'll get to him. All right, so next let's talk the parents. Let's talk Bob and Kate.
Okay, easily the best part of the movie.
Here's the thing. They're really pleasant. They're nice, yet they're secretive. But they're just really terrible at keeping a secret, though. That's the thing. It keeps calling out to me. It's kind of a plot issue, but it's like it's not that they're not good at what they're doing here. It's just like, yeah, man, they're really not doing a good job keeping the secret.
I feel like it's definitely a plot issue. I very much enjoy these two on screen. I think they have great chemistry. I think they have even better chemistry once Kate grows small, which is hilarious. I love their kind of back and forth dynamic. Like, oh, and you'll be taking me along with you this time. I'm not going to be staying in the car. Like, I love everything about these two. I really feel like, and of course, Kate being the embodiment of the leprechaun. You know, that special effect really sold the movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing. We have Kate Kate really gets to run free and kind of evolve. And again, we kind of have her as kind of like the all American mom. Again, like kind of reading the trendiest of like cookbooks and everything, the healthy diet and everything, like the fancy salads, whatnot. And again, she gets to really kind of again like fully kind of embrace her roots. And again, like to the nth level, she becomes like a tiny woman playing the playing the flute and everything. She's doing the step dance. She's just making shoes and everything. It's oh god, it's. She has a lot of fun. Basically, she's playing like the old Irish Rose. That's kind of the old adage. She's kind of becoming the I guess Irish. I think it's Irish Rose. I think that's it. I'm sorry. I thought there was a little bit more to it than that, but I think that point being, we have her and we also have Bob. Bob to me is hilarious. Bob has this ridiculous line he just keeps saying all the time. It's delightful. He says, "I'm from Cleveland." Like God bless Bob, man. Bob is he's just this pleasant ray of sunshine and of course, the idea is like you have these two characters, both really pleasant people, and you get a sense of where the connection was with these two. They're both.
I feel like Bob was really well cast because he just feels like everyone's best. You know what I mean? It's like this dad somewhere in your life, Dragon.
Bob is just this hapless yet helpful guy. That's who Bob is. I mean, I think this Bob would be really good friends with the Stranger Things.
I am not exaggerating when I say I can think of at least 3 of my friends whose dad reminds me of this guy.
Right. So basically, I think we have two takeaways with Bob and Kate. So one is that they have a mixed marriage, leprechaun and human, which of course is kind of the allegory for
a little bit of social commentary there in the 2000s. A little bit of ahead of its time.
Yeah, you have kind of a lot of clever allegory with the leprechaun symbol. I guess is kind of the main kind of through line through a lot of this, which is really clever. Again, they did. I think they did as much as they could with this. They could have gone a little bit further, a little bit smarter in places. Basically, they could have brought it more to the surface, but it was there, and I think I'm impressed that they did something with it compared to a lot of other Disney Channel original stuff. So I got to give it points there, majorly. But yeah, basically this marriage.
Just giving points like the characters in general. I feel like a lot of Disney Channel original movies neglect the parents like very, very badly to the point where they're just kind of, there because the kids need to have parents. You know what I mean? But that's what I love. Honestly, I feel like that's one of the biggest points to this movie is the fact that the parents aren't only present, they are legitimately the most entertaining in the movie, besides maybe the villain.
Right. And also, I would say thematically, I think there's a moral in what Bob and Kate do. I think there's a moral. Basically, what Kate's transformation is kind of it examines the dangers of repressing, heritage and kind of the secrecy of such. I think that's kind of like they at the start of things they kind of keep it under lock and key and to ridiculous, absurd extents where it's kind of so bad it's funny. I got to give it that. Where it's just like really. They're just so bad at hiding because we have this. Here's the thing cracks me up, right? Here's the thing, I can't really be mad at it because that thing's just weird. That's the thing. It's not bad. It's just weird. Where they have this thing where Bob's to keep this. He says, Kyle, you should because he's asking like are we Italian? Are we Mexican? Like asking about like the origins of the set. He's trying to get some clues. And then basically and Bob comes in with, you should count yourself lucky, Kyle. Your mom makes you such a nutritious and healthy meal. It's just, how do you respond to that?
Okay, you know what bothers me about this from like level is why couldn't you don't have to tell him that he's half leprechaun. Like, what's the big deal about telling him that he's Irish?
I know that's the thing, and again, I guess that's what I'm telling you. That's the plot hole of the movie. But again, it's so absurd. But they have this so bad it's funny thing around that plot point that it kind of I don't know if here's the thing. For me, it doesn't quite buy it back, but it makes it more palatable.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, so real quick, I just want to talk about heritage and stuff here. We have some very interesting stuff from the Pink Pearl Apple in the comments here. I wanted to share. So, my sister said this movie could have been easily solved. Oh, well, sorry, I'm going to save that for later. We're going to get to that later. It's a really excellent point that she made there. I want to save it for something special. Anyways, okay, let's see. It says, she says, I got made fun of for being a Brazilian. This stream is cheering me up. So, hey, we're making a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, nice.
Yay for us. Never
Yeah.
word of advice from Pink Pearl Apple: never wear a Brazilian team jersey to Walmart. Apparently, so that sounds very unfortunate. I'm sorry
And
for that.
also, just kind of wearing my heart on my sleeve here for a second, Dragon. Like, I've never intended this channel to make money. Like, to me, it's just that's kind of like beyond the point. The reason I do this, the reason, and I think you can agree to it, the reason that you and I get on almost every night of the week, 6 out of 7 nights a week here, pretty consistent, is for that kind of thing right there that Pink Pearl Apple just pointed out. I love providing entertainment to people. I even if it's just us doing our dorky commentary, man, it's the community is what it's all about. And honestly, in the past couple months, the community is just really kind of starting to grow and really take shape into something, which is honestly just the fact that the community is taking shape into anything at all is something that I've been working for the past 5 years. And it's kind of a beautiful thing, Dragon, that it's sort of forming into something right now.
There's a really hilarious thing that Pink Pearl Apple has pointed
All
out
right.
to us in the comments is that I'm from Cleveland. Pink Pearl Apple has a shirt that she got in high school that says "I'm from Cleveland" in green and gold letters with clovers on it. So again, apparently this movie went big in some places.
Nice.
Either it went big in some places, or it's just the one of the most remarkable coincidences ever. Anyway, okay, so let's move on to some of our less defined characters. Let's talk Russell.
So it's Gerald Johansson, except less likable.
I'm so glad you made that realization because I had the same one.
Yeah, that's what it is, Dragon. It's honestly,
It's basically it's imagine Gerald
yeah,
in his.
this kid just literally should not be in the movie. Like, the only reason they wrote this kid into the movie is that every lead character in these early 2000s movies has a male best friend. Honestly, I think Bonnie would have been fine to be the secondary lead character in this movie. Like, this kid is just entirely pointless to the plot. Entirely pointless.
So here's the thing with Russell. Okay, Russell is, I mean, yes, he's basically, I mean, he's the most generic version of Gerald Johansson you ever saw in life. He's
he is what they talk about. He is what they make fun of. He is essentially the live action version of South Park's Token. All right,
I take it on set.
Token black best friend.
So let me get this straight. There's a black supporting character on South Park whose name is Token.
Yes, yes.
So I'll make sure I'm getting that right because
You're getting that right. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, but here's the thing. So basically, here's Russell's only other function. Okay, so one is just the generic friend, but here's the only other plot function that he serves. He's junior. He's not Mr. Exposition. He's Junior Exposition. That's what he's Junior Exposition and King of Stating the Obvious. That's who. Not King of the Step because that honor belongs to Timothy O'Munson. But no, he's King of Stating the Obvious. This kid. And the thing that really, on the rewatch, I mean, last year we were getting ready to do this on the rewatch, and I still had it on the rewatch for this year too, is that, man, this kid's father is screwed up. The kid's
That's the thing. You barely see any of his father until the very end of the movie, but then once you do, it's like, oh, okay, that's not a good father-son.
Well, no, he's in the earlier part of the movie too, and he's doing the same thing, but it's just ridiculous and sad. It's just, his father places all this value on his performance in I guess it's a high school game, right?
It's middle school.
Middle school. But yeah, sure. Okay, so
worse.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's on a middle school basketball game. And what? It's like, this guy's a nut. He's putting all this pressure on me. Like, who is this invested in a middle school basketball game? And look, I'm not I'm not a sports guy. I know high school. Some people care about high school games. I think college games.
Well, high school I can understand because high school can lead to college sports, which could lead to professional sports.
Point being, I thought like the whole basketball cares like have the actual the Madison Square Garden games, and then you have things like Madison Square Garden, then you have like college games. I thought that was like the main tier for basketball. And as you said, high school being the connect to college. So those are the three interests of basketball you legitimately have, I suppose. Bear in mind, I know nothing about basketball except for how I played basketball, but I have.
We're gonna get to a similar thing of like these characters should really be in high school and not middle school when it comes to Bonnie's character.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so, you're sure it's middle school because again, with that Bonnie stuff makes me think it's high school, but it's like, wait a minute.
No, I'm pretty sure I remembered a line that kind of made me it stuck out to me where Russell is like, yeah, basically it's like towards the end of the movie where Russell's like, saying to Mudson, like, you're playing against a bunch of middle schoolers.
Right. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, it stuck out to me because I could have sworn it was a high school movie.
All right. So, I mean, the only thing I really connect to Russell, and again, they're not doing a lot with this here, and this is the biggest reach I could make. Okay, so just bear this in mind.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay, you could make the leap, and I'm not saying this with a lot of seriousness, folks. I'm just trying to see if they're really going for something here with all the, with the connect to the father mainly. You could make the case. It's not coming out of nowhere because Russell does have a bit that people have read into. I'm not the only one here. I've seen some people have read into. During the big kind of powwow while the storm is clearing, they have an edgy joke where they're talking about how the Irish have immigrated and everything, and basically the old kind of Irish American dream, as it were. And Russell's in the car saying, talk of ancestors and everything. Russell saying, well, at least they got paid. That's a gutsy joke. I gotta be honest, it's a gutsy joke. So
I don't think you'd be hearing that joke nowadays.
You wouldn't. But again, but here's the thing: the correlation I'd like to make is that again, the only logic I can find in this ridiculousness with his father and everything is that thematically, like they could be making heritage and expectation, like the point, like there's an expectation of his heritage and perhaps his race of like kind of has to be like the next all-star basketball player. Begin in looking at it as a stereotype. So again, I don't know if they're going for that. Regardless, I doubt that's the intent. I'm just saying if you want any reasoning for why the father is so fixated on the game, if you want to give it any, I guess, logical resonance that he has an expectation for his son based on a pre-existing stereotype, perhaps. I don't know.
All right.
There's not enough there, but that's the most I can connect to this really bland, pointless character. Okay, that's all I got.
All right, so speaking of bland, but not so pointless, because at least she ties into the plot and the themes of the movie, Bonnie.
Oh, God, Bonnie. All right, so Bonnie.
Like I said, at least she has a point. Unlike
I'm going to rant about Bonnie.
Oh, okay. I didn't felt so strongly about this. All right.
Bonnie, look, the girl means well. Okay, the girl means well. But I felt this the first time. I cut her a break the first time on a re-examination, like the third re-examination. It's like, you know what? I basically because I was kind of half and half on her like when we were supposed to do this. And then I'll rewatch, like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Half and half? Am I crazy? No, she means well, sure. And yes, she spells out the moral. Emphasis on she kind of spells out the moral again, which is again, it's coming from a good place. Like, okay, she's going to give him the big speech in the movie, a little on the nose, but she's giving the big speech in the movie. But everything else, though, from the point she's introduced, this girl is very pushy, very annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, she's this overachiever, and she just
so off-putting where she's like, aren't you going to look into your heritage? Oh, I'm just going to leer over your shoulder while you do this very private thing. And hey, what are you going to do now that you found out your heritage? What are you going to do for Heritage Day, huh? Oh, dancing a foot dance or the tap dance or whatever the fuck it's called.
Step.
Well, what? Step, right. Oh, well, you're not going to learn step in a weekend. You can't do that for Heritage Day. And it's like this girl's entire life just revolves around Heritage Day for the first half of the movie just for the sake of the plot.
And apparently this kid too, because again, why is she so fixated on she's so fixated on Kyle? Because I guess everything comes easy to him and that's the thing too. This thing that bugs me about her, especially on a rewatch, where like right from the get-go, she judges and stereotypes Kyle as like the dumb jock, as the dumb athlete, which as we see, the kid's lucky, but he's no slouch. Even the kid's not he's not. Yes, he's looking down.
They, of course, have to have like some sort of like awkward romance in there, even though it doesn't really go anywhere or affect the plot in any way.
And it's like one scene. It's one scene where he's just kind of looking at her, and the grandfather's looking. What? That's it. But still, it's like it's.
I mean, classic Disney Channel original movie territory with that right there. But
my point is, they're really forcing like a whole like, oh boy, she's awfully fixated on. By the same token, she's just really harshly judging him unfairly and like saying heritage, just shoving it down the kid's throat. And I mean, we do find out, the girl. I guess thematically, the girl's held back. She's pressured by her father to, she's pushed into things by her own father to, to kind of be this the huge overachiever that she is, so she can get into a good college. But again, middle school, all very strange. And I guess the idea is that basically, I want to say
What's funny, and I'm just realizing this now, is that the best moments with Russell and Bonnie both have to do with the character that we're talking about next.
That's true. I mean, that's the thing. I feel that I guess she's perpetuating her father's behavior, like you got to overachieve and so on and so forth, and that makes her kind of pushy and kind of like the kind of the busybody that she is. And again, like now she's always longed to be an athlete. So it's kind of that conflict within herself maybe coming out again. She's basically directing all of her frustration onto Kyle. Really, just the spite. It's like, you're so lucky. I'm not lucky. Boo hoo. I'm gonna sit in my corner with my juice box. Wah. So pity me. So anyway,
I'm not going to put up a fight with this character, Dragon. I don't think she bothers me as much as she bothers you, but she's certainly not a character that's worth like, you're wrong. God damn it! I'm going to fight for Bonnie's honor.
No, here's the thing. It's just here's the bit that really just compounds. It just confounds me because like Kyle's having like the worst that bad week montage, and like totally after like, he botched the game, and it's the next day at school, and she walks up to him, and I'm thinking to myself like, darn you, woman, what is it? What do you want from him? It's like, God. Do you want to just drive the knife in anymore? Everyone hates him. What now? Darn you, woman.
Oh, man. Dragon, you see, this is some of my favorite moments podcasting with you is when you're this fired up.
Like, the girl's ridiculous. And Big Pearl Apple Grace Harris Day comes up a lot.
All right.
Yeah, Bonnie is the I told you so character of Pink Pearl Apple. I agree with you, yes. Okay, so moving on from Bonnie.
All right, so let's get to a couple actually likable characters.
Yes, Riley O'Reilly.
Yeah, this guy's great, honestly. He's just kind of I like how, first of all, I like, they do a proper red herring with him, Dragon. This is how you do a red herring.
Oh, yes.
And that was good. That was well pulled off.
Real quick, Tiki, this is gonna be like
this. Give him like the potato chip factory and everything, and you would think that a villain would be like the overlord of some like big branded thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, but this guy is just Can we get into the two moments he has that make the characters of Russell and Bonnie like at least somewhat palatable?
Well, before we do that, I wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
So this Riley Riley is played by a really good actor. He's played by Henry Gibson. Now, Henry Gibson, he's going to sound like this is your life. Like, do you recognize this familiar voice or this familiar face? So, do you recognize him before I tell you what he's from?
I can't say that I do.
Think of the voice right now. Think of the voice. And this is someone from your past.
From my past? Oh, God. No, now I'm just going to feel bad. I don't know.
Okay. He's from Rocket Power.
Rocket Power? Really?
That's the thing. You're going to love it.
Okay.
Think about who he sounds like from Rocket Power.
Who does he sound like from Rocket Power? I don't know. I'm trying to remember Rocket Power. Who has an Irish accent on that show?
Well, again, he's putting on the Irish accent.
Okay, I don't know. I'm guessing maybe the crotchety neighbor guy.
Yes, you got it. Yes, Merv Stimpleton.
I forget the name of that guy.
Stimpleton, Merv Stimpleton.
Stimpleton. Yes, of course, yes.
The neighbors with the pool. It's him.
Yeah, of course. That's the most memorable thing that guy ever contributed to that show was the Dogtown thing with the pool.
You have that. You have You have that. He's people recognize the man's face from he's the Nazi in Blues Brothers. He's the guy who runs the Nazi.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
And I believe I could be wrong. I meant to look this up, but I forgot. But I mean, I wrote. I believe. I think he might have been Wilbur the pig from Charlotte's Web. I think that he might have done that, but I could be wrong. I know he was involved in that.
Hanna-Barbera version.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Uh,
That's the one I'm thinking of. I don't know. I want to say he voiced adult Wilbur. I'm pretty sure that was him. Anyway.
right.
Okay, so but yes, I guess you want to touch on the moment, sure.
Yeah, yeah. So there's two moments in particular. I love the bit with the fake coin and him giving it to Russell and that giving Russell confidence. That's just a classic kind of literary trope of like, hey, it's we're gonna give a character an enchanted object, but it's not actually enchanted.
Kind of a la placebo effect, a la Space Jam.
Exactly, exactly. And what I like about that moment specifically, Dragon, is I like how that moment, not necessarily for Russell, but I like how it ties in for Kyle's arc. That's something I kind of forgot to mention with Kyle. That Kyle's like, oh my god, I realize it now. It's not about luck, it's about skill. Ha ha. And then with Bonnie, I don't know. It's like Bonnie, say what you will about her, but I thought the ending of her arc was a little bit clever, where Riley O'Reilly is basically kind of posing as this dean. What's he saying, Dragon? That she's going to get into like a college.
Well, and he's not necessarily lying about this. It's just not necessarily, because again, he does own that factory, and it says he's going to give her a scholarship, which I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't think he's going to do it, but it's out of the realm of possibility. He just, well, if you want to get that scholarship, we are looking for people with extracurricular activities like sports, and of course, which he basically says, hey, Dad, you know any sports she could play, like basketball?
Yeah, so that was nice. That was nice. Generally speaking, I just think this guy is a good sort of tie to the Irish heritage of it all. And like I said, I thought the kind of the red herring in the first half of the movie was clever. Not much else to go off of with him. He's fine for what he is. He's not like an amazing character or anything. He's not like a huge highlight, but yeah, I mean, he certainly serves more of a point than the friend characters. He's definitely an entertaining presence.
I love the world building on him. I love just kind of the backstory on this guy. He's a leprechaun who's used his luck to work his way up the Irish American dream, as it were. Think about it. He started off as a cook, and thanks to his luck, he again, it kind of starts off as the Irish American dream, again with kind of the leprechaun twist of it. Well, he starts off as a short order cook, who then slices a potato wrong, which then he basically invented the potato chip, which then leads to the Emerald Isles factory. Remember, that's the backstory. He invented the potato chip. That's kind of cool.
And of course, potatoes, big part of Irish tradition. Samwise Gamgee loves them.
Give him a bag of spuds on me. But yes, so again, he's just kind of Henry Gibson. He plays the consummate Irishman here. He makes his own shoes. He's very proud about that. He's got the accent down. Again, the whole. Again, he has the flair of a leprechaun, which is cool. He has kind of that impish spirit about him. So again, Riley O'Reilly's really, really cool. I think Pinker Apple would agree that she loved him in her youth. So I have that going on there. Cares for his, I like that Riley. He does care for his family's well-being. Because I love it more so. He's really worried about Kyle. Like, no, your mother would never forgive me if anything happened to you. I love that. Because initially, we sell him as a suspect. We're okay. This guy might have been the guy who stole the coin to spite the family, man. Got some bad blood, but no, he loves his family. He's just like, oh, you kids today mentality. Where there's a lot of. He's working through he's kind of working through his rejection of Bob. He's working through his rejection of Bob again, the guy who kind of poisoned the bloodline as far as he was concerned. But again, he's kind of working through that, and his arc again complements Kyle's arc, where he's kind of finding balance of kind of heritage and ancestry and the future via Kyle. So that's really cool. Again, he gets past all of that through the grandson, through the next generation. And he's kind of redeemed in learning that luck isn't everything. He learns that as well as Kyle does. He kind of incidentally inspires that in Kyle. So it's nice stuff. So
yeah.
Okay, I'll talk about the real star of this movie.
Definitely the biggest name in the movie in retrospect.
Yeah.
So Timothy O'Mudson, Dragon.
Oh goodness.
So, like I said, Dragon, really quick before I hand it off to you, I love the fact that this guy is essentially what his role is. He's kind of like everything that Kyle fears that he's going to turn into, but he embraces it, man.
Yes, I mean the thing I love with Seamus is that one, of course, you have Munson just as the charming Irish showman, which is delightful, and I love that. You know, the king of the steppe who wants to be king of the leprechauns. Just that in a sentence is just that's awesome. Okay, the king of the steppe who wants to be the king of the leprechauns. I mean, he literally says he wants to be king of the leprechauns. I'm not making that up. You know. But here's the cool thing. Again, it's kind of like a dark version of kind of Kyle's grandfather in a way, where this is a guy who used his heritage and his luck dishonestly. Where again, like Henry used it again as kind of the American dream. He built a business, through hard work, of course, but again also through luck. Again, he was kind of the leprechaun a leprechaun who kind of grew with the times. That's who he was. Seamus, on the other hand, is a guy he's very stuck in the traditions, in the old ways of things. He's used his heritage and luck dishonestly for profit, and is importantly the biggest distinction, because again, so had O'Reilly. He's profited off of his luck, but the difference is that Seamus steals things. He steals things. He's the tricky leprechaun. He's like the be wary of the leprechaun story. That's who this guy is. All the negative qualities of a leprechaun, which then feeds into exactly the Kyle point that you're making, Tiki.
Yeah, and I love the betting angle, the gambling angle of this guy. The fact that it's both his greatest strength and his downfall in a way.
I love one of my favorite
Mark is a good kind of villain trait. It's a well-written villain in that regard.
One of my favorite O'Munson acting moments is one because again Kyle knows that O'Reilly warned him that he has a betting weakness. So when Kyle brings this up to him, like, oh, a wager. I just love how Munson comes alive, where it's like, oh, a wager. It's like, yes, again, he's really threatening, and he goes from threatening to, it's almost like a Captain Hook quality. I know it's a really weird pull, but think of it. It's kind of like this really menacing guy, but then kind of gets into that kind of like the deal maker. Like, I won't harm a hair on Peter Pan's head. Like one of those things. But yeah, in terms of like kind of the reflection of Kyle as well, is that he's there's a danger in believing and being all consumed by your ancestry and your heritage and just basically by the luck of it all. Like basically Kyle's in danger of everything in life comes easy to him. There's a cockiness that comes with that, and that cockiness could steamroll into something really ugly and something again kind of the leprechaun who's unstoppable in a way, kind of like the evil leprechaun that Seamus physicalizes when he turns into that. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about what about the menace of the Munson? You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes like gradually throughout the film, right? It kind of builds and builds on itself until we get to the basketball game and he's just kind of fully formed. I love the pacing that we get with that because at first he's a joke. He's truly is a joke, and as the movie progresses, we kind of be like, oh man, this guy actually does have some power to him. He's kind of forced to be reckoned with, as goofy as he is.
Yeah, I mean, he was going to put Kyle in slavery. That's nasty business right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a force there, and he unleashes it when it becomes that evil leprechaun. I'll tell you, but more on that later. But on the whole, I mean, once he has that menace, but at the same time, he's just having a lot of fun with the role. He can get really villainous, but he can also be like really kind of the showman. So it's really cool stuff there.
One of my favorite moments with him is when they're all celebrating in that bar setting and he's just kind of like mouthing along the words to the shanties.
Yeah.
I don't know why that amuses me so much.
All right, let's pro-con this thing.
Oh boy. This might be one of the most even numbers of pro and cons that we've ever done.
Maybe.
All right, where do you want to start?
Well, the opening's cool. Let's put pros. Let's start with pros.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, with the pros, I do think that the movie's got a good message behind it with the heritage. It's got some good effects. It does what it needs to do with its budget to really sell you on it and make you want to keep watching. As we already illustrated, the villain is really good.
In places, the direction's really good because, as I mentioned, the opening, we have like it's on Heritage Day, the nightmare sequence where we go for. Remember, we start off like we see people's eyes and people themselves and the symbols and flags and all sorts of stuff. That's a really cool visual opening of kind of what the whole movie's about for Kyle.
Mhm.
Again, you have some of that charming nostalgia here and there for the Disney Channel
Oh
original
yeah,
movie.
definitely, definitely.
Like the
Just early
narration,
it just radiates early 2000s,
like bits like the narration at the start and chase. We have some really good chase sequences.
which we'll get to. Yes,
Course.
yes.
I love the whole like kind of like the family having a clan and like, like the whole clan O'Reilly and kind of we then visit that kind of that era in Ireland, so that's really cool.
Yeah, like I said, I think the probably my biggest compliment to the movie is just how good the parent characters are. When usually the parents are like a big afterthought to these kinds of movies.
I love the theme of the whole Irish American dream. That's cool. I just wish they it's I think that theme's good. I just wish they did a little bit more with it, but I like that it's there. Portia Munson's performance, as stated before, with the old school Irish games, we see the old school sports. I got to tell you, I know it's not the same thing, but I like that it's vaguely. Tell me this. Did it remind you a little bit of Brave? Like, remember all kind of the trials they faced to win
I
there
could
this
see
game?
that. Yeah, yeah.
I know there's a lot of differences there. Scott and Scottish, Irish.
Uh-huh.
There's a difference there, but still, it's cool. It's kind of cool. Uh, Again, I do like just kind of the charm. Like there's a bit of a Space Jam esque kind of climax where it all hinges on a basketball game. I don't know, it's just kind of funny. I love the. I love the little coin stacking trick. Remember when he says a bag of spuds for the boys on me? He just flips
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah. That
coins
was
and
nice. That was nice.
little.
And that just goes to show what I was talking about earlier with the budget, man. It's like that's not like a super complicated effect or anything, but they have what they have to work with and they make it work. You know what I mean? It's like with the budget, it's like this isn't like a super effects heavy movie, but there does kind of make you more drawn to it. You know what I mean? They use it in very creative ways.
I love the almost genie like loopholes of the wager. Where remember it's like when they compete in these sports and they tie. It says, "Hey, you said if you beat me, you didn't beat me, you tied me." Like those sorts
Mhm.
of things. Like that was cool. Good writing right there. Okay. All right. The rainbow trick. We got to talk about the rainbow real quick. So the rainbow was a cool bit. Remember the whole, how again the cement. Basically, there's some fun illogical logic in the movie, and of course, I love some good illogical logic when we have it. Where the idea is, they've lost Seamus. They've lost him, and of course, the way they find him again is, of course, through like the pot of golds at the end of the rainbow. Therefore, the rainbow kind of leads them there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the ugly business of it all, as it were. Let's talk about the cons. Cons.
Gus, the supporting friend characters are a bit problematic.
Bonnie, very pushy and annoying, but I've already said my piece on that. I won't bore you to tears with that
And
again. But
Russell is just pointless. I mean, Russell's not annoying by any means, but he's just so pointless.
Russell's just these the talking cardboard cutout of the movie, pretty much. That's Russell in a nutshell. Basically, it's not even of the kids. Like if it's Gerald, but they kind of chop the hair off. It's pretty much it's
Oh
Gerald.
God.
All right. We do have some high school cliches. Like I can't tell you how many times we see someone having bad luck in high. Well, again, not even high school. I'm sorry. I'm thinking. Only we have the old school cliches.
This movie would make so much more sense if it was high school instead of middle school. It really would.
But you know what I'm getting at, though, right?
I
It's like
think
the
the
whole.
reason why it's middle school is because they wanted to have kind of like the puberty allegory.
Yeah, I guess. I think you're right. Yeah. Again, they didn't really mention that at all, so it's kind of a missed opportunity.
No, they really didn't. But I feel like that was more part of the marketing than it was the actual movie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because
Like
that's the thing.
they pushed like, hey, he's turning into a leprechaun and he's an awkward teenager. Shenanigans.
Right off the bat, there's another mark against the movie. Big missed opportunity there. But just with the school stuff we have like these school cliches that every time like someone's having a bad week at school, we do all the same stuff. Or okay, stuff falls
You
out.
know what really bothered me is the after the bad game when everyone just treats him like dog shit.
Yeah, that bothered me too. Yeah.
It's like, guys, like I would understand if he like missed the winning shot or something like that, if he literally cost you the game, but
Just having an off game. So it's like
guys, calm down.
what if he begrudged everyone who had an off game? Like, could you like you just say to him like could you do any better? It's like
Exactly.
but yeah, and like the whole school turn on him after just one player's ridiculous. With the parents again,
And it's
basically,
not it's ridiculous, and more importantly, it's not how real people act at all.
and again,
That's
like
not like a benchmark for realism or anything, but I'm just saying.
I can't tell you how sick I am of the old cliche where the fountain doesn't work and it looks like you have water splashes on your pants. I can't tell you how many times I'm sick of that gag. You know, only
Also,
time that
Kyle's attempts to woo the ladies are very cringy. The multiple times in the movie where he's just like, "Hey, ladies, looking good."
yeah, again that's just kind of the
I'm not saying
time.
there's anything predatory about it. It's just he's such a dork.
Yeah, I just don't buy it. In regards to Kyle's parents, they had good intentions with the secrecy, but basically there's a huge plot hole that is said during the movie. It's like, yeah, it's still a big plot hole. Why didn't we address this? Where it was just, well, it's been roughly 100 years or so. So being Irish again, the whole like, why couldn't they couldn't tell me he was just Irish instead of a leprechaun? Where it's like
That really does bother me
they
driving
tried
that
to.
into a huge plot hole.
Because again, their rationale is we didn't want you to face the biases of being Irish. Basically, kind of basically the things from 100 years ago.
It's like I mean, it's like I get what they're going for, especially because it ties into the bigger picture of the movie, which is the Irish American dream of it all.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know.
The point being, it doesn't make much sense, and it shows.
It doesn't make sense that like I get I get that that's why they wouldn't tell him, like as he's growing up. I get that. But when he's like actively asking about it, I don't get it. Like that to me would be like more of an opportunity for education more than anything else. It's like, all right, Kyle, let's take a look at our people's trouble but ultimately triumphant history.
Basically, there's something that's really not fair that they want to keep a secret, but they don't want to they're not lying to him, but by the same token, they're withholding a secret. It just feels very
Exactly.
unfair. Like,
Yeah.
look, if you want to commit, then tell him a lie. Just tell him something that keep him placated. But if you don't want to go that far, why keep the secret? It defeats the purpose.
Right, right.
So the parents, again, in those scenes are very off. Specifically, again, with parents on the whole. I mean, because we had that with them again. The parents, Kyle's parents were fun, and they got better through the movie. Of course, they had things to do. But again, when we have other characters' parents like Bonnie's dad and especially Russell's dad, things were off. The uplifting speech in the rain again. I guess one of Bonnie's few good moments, I guess, but it's a
Question
really on the
mark?
what?
I said question mark.
Yeah. And here's the thing: like it's an uplifting speech in the rain, but it's really on the nose in the fact that after she gives the uplifting speech, the rain stops. It's like, come on,
Right,
really?
right.
Yes, we need a rainbow, so there's a story reason for it. I'm not faulting that, but still, seriously, guys, like again, I get what they're saying. I think I love what the movie's going for. I really think they could have been more subtle and clever about it. It's just like it's really, hey, it's the old Irish American again. Basically, they're trying to be educational before they're trying to tell a good story. It's like, hey, here's the moral, kids. Let's
See a
see.
movie that messes up its moral, Dragon. Go see the movie Wonder Park. My God.
Oh, you saw it.
Yes, yes. Oh man.
You poor devil.
Dragon, I'm gonna go as far as to say that Wonder Park is the animated Serenity.
Wow, really?
Not nearly as fun. Don't get me wrong. It's not nearly as fun. I don't like it as nearly as much as I like Serenity, all right? But in terms of just how much of a mess it is, it's the animated Serenity.
All right. Now I wanted to point this out because I agree. I had this in my notes, and I think Pink Pearl Apple agrees with me on this. That the biggest plot hole again. This is more like looking back on it today, and this is like it's a fact of being dated. That 23andMe, basically any genealogy test would have kind of made render this movie.
Yeah, that's. I mean, like you said.
Okay, that's not the movie's fault though. They didn't know. They didn't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, well, I'll say the last bit for the thing you're going to bring up next. So, but yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, I believe that I am the first one in line for the favorite scenes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, going back to my love of the parents, this is probably my favorite bit with the parents. It's shortly after we reveal that Kate is a leprechaun, and she just kind of gets gradually more Irish. And I just love the bit where where Bob is just kind of trying to have this sensible, reasonable conversation with Kyle. I believe this is where we get the the logic of like, well, we didn't want to tell you you're Irish because of the struggles that we went through or whatever, some such bullshit. And but what I love about this is that in the middle of having this serious kind of grounded conversation, we have 3 foot 3 inches tall Kate, who's just like playing an Irish jig on some sort of like woodwind instrument, like some sort of like piccolo style instrument, and just dancing a jig and just getting like so into the Irish side. And I just love how Bob is just like he's being so patient with his wife. He's like, okay, like this isn't helping, but I know she can't control it. I don't know. I just thought that was a great kind of like moment of levity with the parents. It's just like, all right, this is a crazy situation, but they're trying to keep it together as best they can.
Well, this has occurred to me. I just want to make sure we make this point clear, okay? In the movie, when we do all this stuff, like the moment you just brought up, Tiki, I want to make it clear. I think they're yes, the allegory is for Irish, but by the same token, again, they are directly. I like to think they're smart enough to be going over the top because it's a leprechaun, not just saying all Irish people. They do all these things. I think it's the
Oh
big
yeah, yeah,
distinction.
absolutely.
I just want to
I
make
think
that clear, just in case it wasn't.
yeah.
Just like that's the thing. We're not saying that the movie, like it's there's subtext there, of course. But by the same token, it's like they're acting like leprechauns more accurately.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Then my next favorite scene happens. It's just like the most Dragon, this car chase scene, all right? It is one of the most early 2000s things I have ever seen.
It's in the
Like
Country
this,
Bears.
yeah, yeah. This scene belongs in an early 2000s time capsule, my friend. You know what gets me, and you know why it's one of my favorite scenes,
Is
Dragon?
it the music?
Yes, it's the music.
Yep.
How do you know?
Because when I'm watching the scene, I'm thinking of like Seamus is going off in the tour bus, and you have Kyle's dad saying, "Don't let him get away," having that kind of that happy kind of chase music playing like dun, 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 "Don't let him get away, go go go." And it's like that's an every chase right there. That's the music. It's an every
I
chase.
mean, it's classic early 2000s ska. And honestly, Dragon, just that sound, like ska in the early 2000s just go together the same way that grunge in the 90s do, right? Like, I truly feel that it's just like kind of like that nostalgic sound that like ska is not in the least bit popular anymore. But back in the day it was huge. And back in the day, like big budget movies would use it on a regular basis. And this is a great example of it. I don't know. I don't have much to say about the chase. It's a fun chase. We have a lot of shenanigans going down. This is where we get our first big look into Timothy O'Mutson's acting. He has a lot of fun over the top reactions to the situation at hand. I love the line, "Oh, I always like to share a fellow meal with a fellow leprechaun. Give them the corned beef and cabbage." I'm sorry, I'm kind of butchering that, but you know what I mean. The where they throw the corned beef and cabbage at the car.
I think they want some corned beef and cabbage. Let's give it to them.
Yeah, just I mean, just generally speaking, it's just a really fun, very kinetic car chase. It's not done on a big budget or anything. There's no real flashy cinematography or stunts or anything like that. But I think like I said, the music is really what makes it work. It's what sells it. It's just like when I hear that guitar and that trumpet, I'm just like, yeah, that's man. Dragon, I don't know. For some reason, I am getting more nostalgic in this podcast than I've been in like quite a while recording a podcast. I'm really getting the nostalgic feels tonight.
Yep.
I'm just man, I miss being like I miss being 13 and thinking I was hot shit because I was a teenager.
Okay.
Like that feeling of like thinking that you own the world, even though like little did you know how insignificant you actually were. but fuck it, at the time it felt awesome. Anyways, all
Like
right,
you're the kid, you're walking around like you're the kid from Blank Check.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. You know the feeling. You know what I'm talking about.
I can't relate to that one directly, but I can. I'm just assuming that's what you'd be feeling like you walk in there like, hey, I'm a '90s cliche, but you know what? I write the checks, baby.
All right. Then finally, Dragon. It's not a great moment by any means. It's really not. It's uber patriotic. It's over the top. It's cheesy. It really doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. But my God, the ending just makes me crack up every time I see it. And that's why I have to put it on my favorite moments. I don't know, Dragon. I think the ending just comes right the hell out of nowhere. And like I said, it's like I am kind of shocked. I hate to harp on this, but I am genuinely kind of shocked that this isn't a post 9/11 movie because it's just
See,
got that.
I'm gonna say that. That's a weird thing to say. All right, I haven't said it before. It's a weird point to make. Okay.
I'm just saying it's got this sort of like oorah, like go America, America's the greatest thing ever type quality that was in the cultural zeitgeist at the time. I don't know, Dragon. Like I said, I'm being very nostalgic for early 2000s right now, and frankly, the post 9/11 era of the early 2000s was a significant part of that timeline. So it kind of comes with the territory. But anyways, just with the scene itself, it's just such an over the top, cheesy, just hard on the sleeve way to end the movie. It's just like, yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, this movie was about, it was about culture and it was about Irish, and we had some fun with leprechauns and everything. But really, the theme is that America is awesome.
Okay.
Any thoughts on the scene, Dragon? I'm kind of curious what you think.
I think I was much more forgiving of it my initial viewings of it, but I gotta tell you, on real, it's like, yeah, it really just comes out of nowhere. It's kind of cringy the way he just singing it. It's just the step dance. Why is he singing that? Like, come on, why?
That's what I'm saying. I do think a step dance would have been a lot more appropriate.
Yeah.
He would have, in fact, fulfilled his destiny as the one true king of the step.
The one true king. Oh god, make me think of Gallivant right now. The one true king to rule them all.
All right, go ahead and fire into your moments.
All right, let's see. Let me try to get them chronological here. Okay, so well, we have this really great. This is a silly one up front here, where McTiernan has a security measure on his box of gold coins, which, by the way, in itself is a really nice moment between him and the grandfather, and gets into the dichotomy of kind of the dangers of being a leprechaun. Where again, there's a mischievous side to a leprechaun. Where it's like, why don't we steal all the gold? It's like, no, we can't do that. I mean, what do you think he stole this anyways? What's the difference? And then, of course, like saying, well, look, he cares about his heritage, which kind of wins his grandfather over. It's a nice little moment in itself. Basically, after they have the little heart-to-heart moment, after Kyle regains his coin, they left the box open, and leaving the box open, there's a security measure, just like it's magical security measure. Basically, all the coins are kind of like a lightning storm that forms, and then this giant holographic Timothy O. Munson face is projected, and it grabs the grandfather, says O'Reilly, because he sees him, he pulls him in, he disappears, and of course this cow's about to leave the thing. It's like, with Grandpa, it's a really great intense moment. It's hysterically absurd when you really look at it on a rewatch. Like, oh my god, this cloud's out there, but it's cool, and there's an intensity there. And then he's holding him by the beer as he walks into the tour bus. It's a cool moment. That's a great entrance for your character in a villainous light. Okay. So then, following that, again, I gotta be honest, they're all Munson related. I'm sorry. They are.
Nothing wrong with that.
Then we have, I guess, the evil leprechaun reveal. Because again, we knew this guy is trying to be king of leprechauns, and he kind of reveals his true form, which is kind of this great. I think you might want to show what that looks like, by the way. Looks a little something like this. He just kind of goes full evil leprechaun again. Like if Kyle went on to look in the way he did and just kind of fully embraced himself and embraced just kind of the way that would have gone. Mainly if he were full blooded, I think he would definitely look like Seamus in his natural form.
I gotta say, it's a pretty decent makeup job, Dragon.
I think it's good, especially on the next scene I'm going to talk about. I think it looks it's in close up and he's talking because he gives basically he kind of has like a transformation, like a werewolf transformation almost. His eyes glow green, like, ah, and he basically he's just frustrated. And he goes for like the block the shot. That's kind of the moment I was talking about right now. And then of course we have my favorite moment that follows that of the whole film. Favorite moment of the whole film, I believe, Penny Prolapple would agree with. I love Seamus's comeuppance. Because one, I love that Kyle made this really gutsy wager. I love that he came out on top of the wager, but more
I
so,
think the idea of like randomly putting basically like human slavery into the equation is kind of dark.
but yeah, it was a really brave thing where his grandfather was going to be sold into slavery. He says like, hey, no, take me instead, because again, you want the younger guy before you want the old guy as your slave, and it's like, yeah, I mean that's dark logic, but again, he's defending his family. That's a bold move,
Mm.
and essentially what Kyle does. I love that Kyle had a plan with all this, and we kind of reveal that here. That again, Kyle is using the knowledge that again he's kind of basically using what the clan of O'Reilly is now versus what it was then, which is what Seamus is used to. Where again, like he assumes like he knows his heritage, he knows like the all these sorts of things. Where again he's half he's half Irish and half leprechaun, more accurately. And he basically has this reveal where he just walks over to him like here, and of course Seamus saying, "Oh, I'll get revenge because I'll go back to the homeland, and I'll regroup and get more. I still have all the magic and the luck, and I'll be gunning for you." And Kyle says, "No, I said, remember the other part of it? Oh yes, I remember, and I'll get revenge on you." He says, "But no, the land of Erie." He says, get it right, would you? The land of Ire. It's either Ire or Irie. I think it's Ire.
Something
The
like that.
land of Ire. And Kyle has this great moment. I love this moment so much. I love the cleverness of these little moments here where he says, "My father's from Cleveland," which of course means Lake Erie.
And that's a great kind of callback to the running joke that the father's been saying the whole movie.
Yes, it's great. Yes. I also want to welcome, I'm going to butcher this name in the comments here. Diegox Trujillo. Trujillo? Diegox Trujillo. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. If you spell that phonetic, I'll get it right in the future. I'm sorry about that, Diegox. But the point being, hello there.
Welcome,
Anyway,
welcome.
yes, well, all are welcome here. Point being, you kind of reaches the end here, but seriously, that's a great moment. You're right, Tiki. It does pay off the Cleveland running gag so well, and again, it's showing that Kyle's grown, he's learned. It's a great moment. Of course, it's a great like moment for a Munson. It's wonderful.
That's my favorite moment of acting on a Mudson's face right there when he realizes how screwed he is.
Yes, and of course we have the weird shrinking effects, but still, he shrinks down. He's kind of jettisoned to Lake Erie, but yeah. All right, I
All
guess
right.
we should switch back to the route then.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Oh, yeah, Era, I believe, is how Pink Pearl Apple says. I think it's a land of Era. Ira or Era, but Era.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Final thoughts, Dragon. Talking through the movie. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch. I would even wager to say it's not even that good of a movie. But man, is it a nostalgic movie, Dragon. I've had so much fun going through this thing. This is like the most nostalgic I've been in quite some time. Just in general, I mean, I want my early adolescence back, my friend. It's
Right.
like I feel like playing the White Stripes. I can tell that we're gonna be friends because that song kind of puts in mind how I feel right now. Anyways, uh so final thoughts. Yeah, it's not a great movie by any stretch. The side characters are kind of useless, but the adult characters are all really good. Like all of them down the line. Seamus, Riley O'Reilly, and the parents—they're all very good. And so I feel like that's one of the big strengths of this movie is that I feel like the adult performers in the movie really elevated above what it could have been if it would have just focused on the kids and not had to focus on the adults. And so for what it's worth, that kind of elevates it. I really do think if not the best Disney Channel original movie, because I don't want to go that far. There's a lot of them I haven't even seen, and A lot of them I haven't seen in years. You know, I'd have to do a solid rewatch of that catalog to really say for sure what's the best one. But I think this one is by far my favorite nostalgic one, Dragon. I mean, it's either that or Halloween Town, but I gotta say, Halloween Town, like, I've rewatched Halloween Town in the last few years, and that one doesn't really hold up as well as I would like it to. Whereas this one, I mean, it's not like it's a great movie, like I said, but I feel like there's something kind of classic about it. You know what I mean? I feel like there's sort of like a timeless quality to this thing where like it's very watchable. It's like compulsively watchable in a way. It's just, in spite of all its flaws, it's just a fun time and a nostalgic favorite. And I honestly I kind of love it for that reason. It's definitely a favorite.
All right. Well, before I get into my final thoughts, just want to read some comments here. Diego says we can call him Vincent just for short, just for simplicity's sake.
Okay.
So, hello, Vincent. Welcome. And Pink Prolepis, because as we're rounding out here, Pink Prolepis shared a really fun moment from the movie that I think we vaguely referenced just to say it, because apparently it's a really quotable line that Pink Prolepis loves from the movie. It's how I manifest despair when Riley's playing the same kind of flute, I guess. He's playing the same woodwind instrument. Basically, when he's thinking, of course, we have that line. It's like, must you do that? I do, because I'm Irish. And of course, it's how I manifest despair. It was the idea, like when you're in despair and like when things are crumbling around you, I guess you play the flute. You know, fair enough. Yes, of course, a lot of love for kind of the childhood of DComs. Yes, DCom. I never thought of DComs for short. Disney Channel original movies. That's a great shorthand. Why did I never think of that? Because I've been doing my own stupid shorthand. I just didn't. Why didn't I abbreviate like that? It feels so stupid. Anyway, okay. So my final thoughts on the movie. Look, I equate to it's harmless cheesy. It's kind of harmless cheesy staple of Disney Channel original movies. That's kind of what it is. You know, it's not bad. It's nostalgic. It are parts of it cheesy and a little less Bible than they were the very first time you saw it. Sure, is that a bad thing? Not the end of the world. It's fine. I mean, does Bonnie get under my skin? Sure. But I mean, look, it circles some really neat stuff.
Character by all intents and purposes, yes.
I mean, look, the movie circles some neat stuff, and it's a lot of fun. It's just lacking the substance. Like I think it was really on the precipice of achieving. But again, like I watch this movie for the Munson alone folks, and for the nostalgia. I think you're gonna have a good time with it. It did the best it could for St. Patrick's Day. I mean, again, there's not really a lot of competition right now, but again, it's that's the thing. I mean, it's good enough, and it warrants kind of coming back every year. I'll give it that much. It's a fun one. It's like I'd put it in the. I'm not really thinking about all of them at the moment here, but I mean, of all the ones that spring to mind when I think of the Disney Channel original movies, just kind of clumping together all the Halloween towns into one. But I mean, let's be honest, we're really thinking of the first one. I mean, it'd probably be in the top 5. It's probably like Halloween Town, Smart House, this, and maybe Phantom of the Megaplex. I know it's at least 4 of them. I don't know. It's all that are coming to mind at the moment. I'm sure there are others. Of course, Twas the Night. Twas the Night's at the top of the list. So basically, let's say Twas the Night's the 5th one. So there's generally 5 that come to mind when I think of the Disney Channel original movies. So then there's the Even Stevens thing, which I have to recalculate the list. We don't have time for that. So that does it for us, folks. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I'm sorry. Of course, we could even technically count the Kim Possible movies as Disney Channel original movies.
Yeah, and of course, if you count the good animated one, sure. I mean, oh my goodness, that's a great one. We're in the semantics. I'm talking about the live action stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so also Pink Pearl Apples is something I think you appreciate these. DuckTales, do a St. Patrick's Day episode.
Please.
Think of Scrooge getting upset at that it's an Irish holiday and the boys pinching people who aren't wearing green. And it's Irish cheese. It's a really good Brie movie. Is what Pink Phillips is with the whole cheese analogy. So that's not bad. Okay, right. Had a lot of fun doing this, folks. See you next time, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us.
Riley O'Reilly. That's your